First Check the Tape Tuesday preseason edition here on Jaguars Today. Jeff Lageman in studio with us. Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith, Dylan Denmark as well on Jaguars Today. Logs, I saw today working on the side. Once again, Maason Smith. He looks like he's moving better, you know. And I saw Arik Armstead getting in a little individual work on the side as well for the second consecutive day, which is at least a good step in the right direction. What did you see from the interior of the defensive line on Saturday night?
They need those two guys back. I mean, just to be honest, I mean, look, that's a position that is going to probably get a lot of attention after this year, and maybe even at some point of cutdown day. And it's gotten some attention recently. You know, they signed what was the guy's name? Austin Johnson, just this past week. I mean, I think that right there ought to tell you where they think they're at, you know. And the reality is, in the game the other night, it was, you know, even like the two guys that I kind of was expecting to take a step forward for this football team this year, which is Devon Hamilton, who was kind of trending up at the end of last year a little bit, and then Jordan Jefferson, who I thought was pretty good. These guys got to strain more. You know, they got to have some violent departures. You know, they're getting blocked. I mean, it's when you get blocked, there's a point to where you have to just go, all right, it's time to ragdoll this guy and get off and make a play. And I just feel at times that it's just they're sticky. You know, they're just sticky on the offensive linemen. And
once they get their hands on you, that's it.
And not that it's it. It's just that there's got to be more strain, especially for Jordan Jefferson, number one on the double teams, and Devon Hamilton leaving the blocks. He's got to be more violent and quicker. And so that's a position, like I said, it's gonna take some time, and I hope that Maason Smith is working back well from his lower leg injury, you know. And then Arik Armstead is a guy that, you know, I trust him more to get back and to be ready to play for the regular season, because Maason Smith is still young, he's still raw. He's the guy that really you'd like to have getting reps, because his first year, I thought in training camp, he showed really signs of big-time promise. And then in the first year, you know, you got to think and game plan. And, of course, it wasn't a good year. I don't think it was a very good job of coaching, and all those things I think had an impact on his performance, what I thought was just okay, to below average or expectations. And here, you know, in year two, you want him to really get reps and get better and digest the scheme and hit the ground running, and he's not having that opportunity. And that's not his fault. You know, so I'm not mad at him or blaming him. Look, I mean, guys get hurt.
Right.
And that's part of the process. But, man, in a perfect world, you'd like to have him taking the reps right now and getting the opportunity to get better.
Yeah, like you said, it's a shame because universally from everyone I talked to with the team praised how hard he had been working this offseason, you know, and that when he got hurt.
Had a really good offseason.
Right, went to the team right away, like, hey, let me get in there and rehab. So he's done it the right way. Like you said, you're not trying to get hurt if you're Maason Smith, obviously. And I do, just watching him today, I was pretty encouraged by the way he was moving. We're still 3.5 weeks out to the start of the season, a little over that or by a day or so, but hopefully.
And the world's not perfect. You know, I mean, look, every team's got to have some issues to deal with, right? And so if he gets back and it's like towards the regular season, so be it. You know, then you coach him up when you get the opportunity. But I think the one thing that you definitely don't want to do is have a setback and then all of a sudden his availability is in question for the season, right? You know, so you got to be really smart about it, you know, and it's kind of a balance because, you know, you want to go to what I was just talking about a little bit ago. You want him to get the reps and to get ready, and he's raw and he needs time. But at the same token, that all goes out the window if all of a sudden the body fails and he can't play.
Obviously Pittsburgh was able to do basically whatever they wanted to, you know, in the past game. There was a lot of space out there on defense for him. Were you surprised that there was that much space based on what you saw in training camp to this point and the scrimmage the previous Friday? Did it just feel like they were playing defense a little bit differently than you thought maybe they would be?
Well, it didn't meet the expectations I think that they had. I don't think it met the expectations that I had. I don't think the players met the expectations that they had. Here's the thing that I think was concerning. I don't want to say concerning. That needs to be fixed, and that's why you have preseason. Look, I mean, the reality is nobody's perfect, but you got to get the call. You got to get lined up before the ball is snapped. And they had a major issue in this game and I don't know if it was communication coming in from the sideline. Look, you got a first-time defensive coordinator and Anthony Campanelli. It looked like at times that either there was confusion getting the calls or what the calls were. And then you had times where the 4 defensive linemen didn't even have their hands completely on the ground ready to go when the ball was snapped. And linebackers were still communicating with defensive backs and trying to coordinate. And Liam Cohn talked to us yesterday, Mike, for SiriusXM NFL Radio and said that we need to get our cleats set and get ready to play.
Right.
And that's really the whole part of what he was talking about is that, look, we got to do a better job as coaches and get the call in there, and then they have to do a better job of getting the call and getting lined up. Because, I mean, the reality is that if you're late getting the call, you're not even seeing what the formation is. You're not reading stances. You're not, getting the keys that you've studied all week because your mind's not working to that point yet. Your mind's working on, I got to get lined up, and is so-and-so lined up right? Is he okay? Are we okay? And then you're not even looking at the opponent yet. And so that's something that is going to be a big step for this defense this week is getting that fixed.
How do you fix that? Like, it's obviously something they've worked on this offseason, right? And Liam Cohen infamously said, hey, you can't worry about, and I'm paraphrasing, can't worry about beating somebody else until you stop beating yourself. Mm-hmm. Told us yesterday, basically, to take it back to almost a Pop Warner level of here's where you're supposed to stand, mm-hmm. right? I mean, which is pretty fundamental, it would seem. I got to imagine, Lugs, they didn't just start working on this last week, right? So if it hasn't clicked in, I get it, it's the first game, real game setting for these guys. If it hasn't clicked in after several months, how much can get cleaned up in the next 3.5 weeks?
Oh, I think it can be dramatic. And I don't know, did they have headset issues? Was there a communication issue between the helmets that have the microphone? I don't know if there was any of that, but yeah, it's got to get cleaned up. I haven't seen any of that all year. And I will say this, is that it's kind of surprising. Pittsburgh comes out in a game, and in the very first series, they're running tempo.
Yep.
And a lot of teams in preseason aren't really going to run tempo mm-hmm. because it's just they want to make sure that everybody's getting the call. And, look, they're not trying to get 100 plays in a preseason game because they want to just make sure that they get through it healthy. And so when Pittsburgh went tempo, I said, ooh, that's really going to be challenging for a defense that probably hasn't seen a lot of tempo yet in training camp. In the 2-minute they have, but have you seen a lot of it in the regular defenses and the base downs? Mm-hmm. No, probably not. So, it's, again, a perfect opportunity for it to happen in the preseason. So now if it gets to the regular season, you've worked on it, you've corrected it, and now you move forward and get better.
Yeah, it was noticeable. Like Pittsburgh, I think they huddled maybe 3 times in the first half, right? Like they were at the line of scrimmage constantly, and you could see it on the defense, as you said. Guys aren't even getting set before the snap happens, but it's good for that to happen week 1 of the preseason so that you can do something about it.
Way better than against Carolina.
No doubt. Obviously they had the couple sacks in the game, but it wasn't from any of the frontline guys. Like there just wasn't a whole lot of pressure early, and part of that is exactly what we're talking about here. Like they just weren't set in a lot of these circumstances. I think fans have reacted to it, so we'll ask your reaction to it as well. Why is Josh Hines-Allen dropping back in coverage on a 2nd and long?
Oh, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, look, I think that all great pass rushers at times need to do that, because here's the reality, offenses game plan for really good players. Okay, and so when you game plan for really good players, you're a lot of times sliding protection towards that really good player. And so if you run a fire zone, to give people an idea and to make it very easy to understand, if Josh Hines-Allen is on the left side, okay, and so the opponent is wanting to push everything towards his side, and the Jaguars drop him, and then they bring pressure on the other side, now you're actually attacking a side that is maybe weakened a little bit because it's all pushing over towards Josh or towards Trayvon and Josh if they're both lined up on the same side. So having Josh drop and Trayvon drop at times, I think it's smart. So for for the people that think that, now look, if it's happening, 10 times a game, that's a problem. Okay, but if it's happening a couple times a game, that's just smart game planning, and schematically, it's attacking an opponent in a very positive way. So I think sometimes there can be an overreaction to that. But look at T.J. Watt, look at Myles Garrett. Those guys drop sometimes too, and the whole purpose is to free others, and it's about the team. It's not about Josh or not about T.J. Watt or Myles Garrett.
Yeah, that's one of those that it can be successful 20 times in a row, but the first time somebody hits a big play
and
in that circumstance,
can't believe they dropped it.
Well, it's true. I mean, we've been hearing it for years. It doesn't really matter. If it happens on a big play and you fail to execute, they beat the Titans to close out the 2022 regular season in large part on a play where Josh Hines-Allen was dropping into coverage. We talked about that as well over time, but so if it works, it works. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like whatever methodology your head coach used to get your team ready, if you win in week one, that was a good.
Yeah, it was just like another, the piling on of a bunch of fans that feel like, well, nothing changed on defense.
Right,
and then they see Josh Hines-Allen dropping back and they're like, really nothing changed on defense.
No,
like
I get it.
That's how they feel. That's the reaction that we're getting.
When I was with Pete Carroll in New York, and which was Pete's first year in the league and second, third, fourth, fifth year in the league, we had, and he instituted a defense to where we dropped into coverage at times, just like you're seeing there. And he actually mixed it up. We had the nose tackle dropping into pass coverage at times. We had a pretty athletic nose tackles, but he mixed it up in that way just so that you could keep the opponent off balance. So nothing wrong with that, and I get the frustration sometimes with it, but I'm looking forward to watching this defense make a big step in week 2 because they need to, number one. But number two is that my expectations of this defense this year are very high. When I say high, you go back and you look at the Green Bay defense over the last couple of years, and I've said this before. They were a defense that was very clean, very mistake-free, and they were very competitive. When I say competitive, they contested balls. They made the opponent fight for every yard they had. They never had mental errors that allowed explosive plays, things that we saw with the defense last year. And I believe that Campanelli will get this defense into that kind of mode. But, again, it's preseason week 1. I don't want to overreact again because going back to what you said, Mike, the Detroit Lions, undefeated in the preseason, didn't win many games.
Didn't win any games.
So let's take everything with a little bit of a grain of salt.
Right. Then again, you had the Ravens who won like 24 in a row, and they're consistently a high-level team, right?
Exactly.
I mean, whatever you do in the regular season, whatever you did in the preseason, if you were successful in the regular season, you had a good preseason.
Here's what I like, though. You got a whole new organizational structure. You've got a whole new culture trying to be established, and you feel good about yourself, right? You're working all through the off season and OTAs and then mini camp, and then training camp. You're feeling good about. Have a good scrimmage. You feel good about. And then your first opportunity against somebody else didn't go as well as you wanted it. Well, let's a little cold water in the face. Let's get back to work, right? I mean, so kind of like that.
Hey everybody, it's Mike Dempsey here, thanking you so much for watching 1010XL Jaguars on YouTube. But before you click away, please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and be sure to check out our other team-specific channels on the 1010XL network on YouTube.